In 2007, he came out with a reality show called Gotti's Way. And Gotti's Way was only 2 seasons, but those 2 seasons showed me an intimate view on what it looked like to decouple, what it looked like to attempt to co-parent, the differences between what a mother felt that the family needed and what she needed as an individual, and what the father thought he needed to do to be a provider and to keep his family together.
I want to be with Irv, but then a part of me is like, you know what? I think I've outgrown you.
The women that you're with, you refer to them as scallywags.
Oh my God! You will not believe what I'm about to tell you. Irv Gotti's ex-wife has finally broken her silence, and she is spilling absolutely everything about how Irv completely destroyed their family because he was absolutely obsessed with Ashanti. I mean, have you seen those interviews? The man literally could not go 5 minutes without bringing up Ashanti's name. It was like watching someone completely lose their mind in real time. And when she completely ignored him and refused to work with him again, he absolutely lost it. We're talking full-on meltdown mode that would make even the most dramatic reality TV stars look totally composed. And now, Deb is revealing how his disgusting attitude and total fixation with Ashanti absolutely shattered their relationship into a million pieces. She loved him with her whole heart and tried so desperately to keep their family together through all the heartache and betrayal. But girl, did she pay dearly for that mistake? The emotional damage she suffered trying to save something that was already broken beyond repair is just devastating to hear about. Let me break down all this juicy drama for you because trust me, you're going to want to hear every single detail of this messy situation.
Third, there's no boundaries. Like, he comes, we're there, we're available. He's living 2 lives, and for me, it doesn't make sense.
You have found that woman. It might not have lasted, but you have
She's
found...
definitely a special one, but she wasn't special enough for me to stop.
So here's the real tea, honey, and you might want to sit down for this because it is piping hot. Irv Gotti and Deb Lorenzo's marriage fell completely apart back in 2013 after they'd been together for an entire decade. That's right. 10 years of her life dedicated to a man who couldn't even show her the basic respect she deserved. And everyone around them was always saying Deb was absolutely out of her mind for staying with a man who treated her like complete garbage. Like, we're not talking about small disagreements here. This man disrespected her right in front of their innocent children. Can you even imagine the kind of emotional damage that does to kids seeing their father treat their mother that way? He actually mocked her about her education and had the absolute audacity to tell her that her daughter should be achieving more than her own mother. Who says something like that to the woman who gave birth to and raised your children? But Deb is finally sharing all the painful details now, and apparently things weren't always this toxic between them. When they got married back in 2003, she truly believed she was getting a hardworking husband who would be traveling, signing big deals, and providing for the family while she devoted herself to raising their beautiful children. She had such high hopes for their future together, dreaming of the perfect family life with a successful husband who adored and respected her. What she never signed up for was the endless parade of women that Irv couldn't stop himself from sleeping with. The betrayal was constant and crushing, happening over and over until she was emotionally numb to it. And the worst part of it all, this man had the absolute nerve to act like he wasn't doing anything wrong. Can you believe that level of delusion? He genuinely believed Deb was crazy for thinking she could possibly be the only woman to satisfy him. Like it was somehow her fault that he couldn't keep his promises or stay faithful for even a moment. I literally cannot with this man and his complete lack of accountability.
Still married, but we were separated when they were dating. I was used to it from the beginning, like him going and traveling. I just wasn't used to the women. That was like new, like, where did these hoes come from?
You know, I think...
You wanted people to forgive you when you do stuff?
Don't talk about the cheat. I'm a good chip off the old block, aside from the infidelities. You know, in my crazy mind, I thought that was life. This is my wife, this is my family, but this bitch is here to suck my
Child, the absolute audacity of this man. Their relationship was so incredibly dysfunctional, it physically hurts to even think about. And we all got to witness this complete disaster firsthand when their reality show Gotti's Way aired back in 2007. The cameras captured moments so uncomfortable that viewers were squirming in their seats, watching this woman trying desperately to hold together a marriage that was clearly falling apart at the seams. But Deb, bless her heart, she still tried everything humanly possible to make it work. She stayed because she truly truly believed in her heart that Irv would eventually change his ways. She held on to that hope like it was the last lifeboat on a sinking ship, convincing herself that if she just loved him enough, if she was just patient enough, if she just forgave him one more time, he would finally become the husband she deserved. Deb actually tried to divorce Irv when she first discovered his cheating, gathering all her courage to stand up for herself and demand better. But then she looked at those precious babies they were raising, and everything changed. Their oldest son, Sonny, was absolutely heartbroken at the mere thought of his parents splitting up. You could see the pain in that child's eyes, and what mother wouldn't do anything to take that pain away? I have to give credit where it's deserved. Despite everything else, Irv was actually a good father to their children. That's probably the one redeeming quality about him in this entire messy situation. He even adopted Deb's daughter as his own and never once treated her differently than his biological children. In fact, her daughter had no idea Irv wasn't her biological father until she heard it from someone outside their home. That's how committed he was to being a father figure to her. And despite his constant traveling for work, Irv made sure to come home on weekends for the kids, attending all their school events, sports games, recitals, and doing everything a dedicated father should. When it came to the kids, he really showed up and gave them the love and attention they needed. But here's the thing that's so painful and confusing for Deb. It seems like he only wanted to be present for the children and absolutely nothing more. It was like she became invisible the moment she wasn't directly involved with the kids. Unfortunately, those weekend visits gave Deb false hope every single time. She'd see him being this amazing father, this attentive, loving, present parent who clearly had the capacity to care deeply about other people, and she would think to herself, maybe this time he'll change. Maybe this time our marriage can actually be saved. Maybe he'll finally see me the way he sees the children. And the women? Oh, honey, they came and went through their lives like there was a revolving door installed on their home. But for a while, there wasn't anyone in particular that Irv was emotionally attached to. They were just nameless, faceless conquests that wounded Deb's heart over and over again. Well, at least not until Ashanti stepped into the picture and changed everything. Suddenly, Ashanti became the absolute queen of Murder, Inc. Her songs were climbing charts everywhere, her face was on every magazine cover, and lucrative brand deals were falling into her lap from every direction. Irv couldn't stop bragging about all the money and power moves he and Ashanti were making together, while poor Deb was stuck at home taking care of their children, hearing about this other woman's success story that her husband was instrumental in creating. Every phone call, every conversation somehow circled back to Ashanti and how amazing she was. Eventually, he started spending more and more time in the studio, becoming this part-time dad instead of sharing the responsibility of raising their family. The late nights got later, the weekends at home became shorter, and Deb found herself essentially functioning as a single mother despite technically being married. Then the rumors started flying everywhere that Ashanti and Irv were doing way more than just making music and money together. The whispers turned into headlines, and suddenly Deb was seeing her marriage troubles splashed across gossip sites and magazines. When he went on the Wendy Williams show, Irv completely shut down claims that Ashanti was a homewrecker trying to control the narrative. He claimed they were genuinely in love and only got together after he and Deb were officially separated. But we all know how these industry relationships really work, don't we? The lines get blurred, the boundaries get crossed long before any official separation happens.
Why is it that if a man gets married, a man and woman get married, if they're separated, they're not gonna be together, they're not staying together? I can't go mess with other girls until I sign a divorce paper? Why?
No, yes you can.
Okay, then what's the problem?
But wait, there's so much more to this story that will absolutely blow your mind. The real truth that Deb is finally revealing is that she and Irv's relationship only started seriously falling apart when Irv and Ashanti got a little too close for comfort. Coincidence? I think we all know better than that. The timeline speaks for itself, and it paints a picture that Irv has been trying desperately to distort for years. Before Ashanti came into the picture, yes, Irv was unfaithful, but their marriage still had some foundation they were standing on. After Ashanti, that foundation cracked beyond repair, and everything they had built together came crashing down around them.
She used to wear these juicy sweats, and her ass was looking fat. Her ass was looking great. So one day, I was like, yo, I'll take you home. She said, bet, cool. I walk her to a front door of her crib. She turns to say goodbye. And I just kiss her and grab her ass. And just, mwah.
And it got so much worse when Ashanti completely dumped him and moved on with Nelly. That was the final devastating blow that broke Irv completely, and he never recovered from it. We're talking about a man who was so deeply wounded by this rejection that it consumed his entire life for years afterward. Since Ashanti wouldn't give him even a moment of her time anymore, he allegedly started taking all his frustrations and anger out on his wife. Irv didn't even attempt to hide his feelings about Ashanti, and he became incredibly disrespectful toward Deb, treating her like she was somehow responsible for Ashanti choosing another man. And the worst part? He did this even when their innocent children were right there witnessing everything. Those kids had front row seats to their father's complete emotional breakdown over a woman who wasn't their mother. Can you imagine how confusing and hurtful that must have been for them? Poor Deb became his emotional punching bag, absorbing all the rage and bitterness he felt toward Ashanti, but couldn't express directly to her. And it didn't help at all that she and the children completely relied on Irv financially for everything they needed. Deb didn't have a real career or enough money saved to move out and start over on her own. She had dedicated her life to supporting his career and raising their family, putting her own ambitions on hold to be the backbone of their household. And Irv, he absolutely knew that and took full advantage of the entire situation, wielding his financial power over her like a weapon. The sheer audacity of this man to treat the mother of his children this way after she had sacrificed so much for their family. It's beyond comprehension how someone could be so callous toward a person who had given them so much love and support.
It's the fear and like, can I survive on my own? I feel stuck a little bit, and I've been like this for a while. I stayed this long because I was afraid. When we first separated, I really thought, Irv would come back home. I thought we would work things out. And then as time goes on, you see it's not gonna work.
Before Irv confirmed that he and Ashanti were actually seeing each other, everyone in the industry was playing the guessing game about Ashanti's love life. Most people assumed she was either involved with Ja Rule, who she had incredible chemistry with on their tracks, or Cedric Haley from Jodeci. The speculation was everywhere, but no one had any concrete evidence about who had captured Ashanti's heart. But when Irv announced to millions of people watching and listening that he was the one truly in love with Ashanti, girl, it was like he blew the gates wide open on his private life. Suddenly, everyone knew his business, including his wife and children who had to deal with the public humiliation of his confession. It wasn't enough for him to have the affair. He had to broadcast it to the world like he was proud of destroying his family.
Made those records. You know what I'm saying? Like, she wrote them, but she wrote them with the help of me telling her what to write. And all of y'all, whoever knows me, I don't lie. I don't lie. I'm not a liar. I'm gonna spritz it up and jazz it up. Is this the camera?
Yes.
Ashanti, you cannot spritz it up. You cannot jazz it up. The minute you put some spritzy and jazz it up, it's not a cover. So when it's not a cover, now it has to come back to me to clear it.
After that bombshell, it was like Irv had absolutely nothing left to lose. He became even more confident and shameless in talking about all the other famous women he'd been with in Hollywood. The floodgates were open, and he was ready to air out every single intimate detail of his private life without any consideration for how it might affect the people who loved him. He even bragged shamelessly about giving Superhead her nickname and made it crystal clear that he felt completely entitled to cheat with as many women as he wanted because it was all part of the game in the music industry. Can you even believe the nerve of this man to try to normalize his betrayal by claiming it's just how things work in his world? As if being in the music industry somehow exempts you from basic human decency and respect toward your spouse. It was one thing for Deb to deal with Irv's constant cheating when only a few people knew about their private struggles. She could at least maintain her dignity and protect her children from the worst of it. But now that he had blasted it for the entire world to hear and wouldn't stop talking about it in interview after interview, even for the sake of their beautiful family and innocent children who were undoubtedly being affected by the public nature of this scandal, Deb finally realized their marriage was well and truly beyond saving. There was no coming back from this level of disrespect and betrayal. She packed her bags, left their home, and never looked back. And honestly, that was the best and most empowering decision she could have possibly made for herself. Sometimes walking away is the strongest thing you can do, especially when staying means continuing to accept treatment that diminishes your worth and damages your spirit. Because let me tell you something about Irv. He never changed his ways, not even after losing his family. Even at 48 years old, well past the age when most men have matured and learned from their mistakes, he was still openly talking in interviews about wanting a freaky ride-or-die woman who would have his children and let him do whatever he wanted without question or consequence. It's like he learned absolutely nothing from the destruction of his marriage. And perhaps most troubling of all, he remained completely and utterly obsessed with Ashanti until his final day, bringing her up in conversations where she wasn't even relevant, keeping her name in his mouth like he couldn't let go of what might have been. The psychological impact of this obsession clearly ran deeper than anyone realized at the time. Looking back at interviews from years after their relationship ended, you can still see how emotionally invested he was in Ashanti, dissecting her career moves, her relationships, her choices, as if he still had some claim to her life and decisions. It was uncomfortable to watch a grown man so unable to move on from a relationship that clearly meant more to him than it did to her. And all the while, Deb was rebuilding her life piece by piece, finding strength she never knew she had, and creating a stable, peaceful environment for her children away from the toxic dynamics they had witnessed for so long. And now people all across social media have so much to say about what Deb has finally revealed. The internet is absolutely buzzing with reactions to her side of the story. One person tweeted, "Irv Gotti beat the federal government in a $1 million money laundering trial, which is an incredible legal achievement, but instead of telling that impressive story that could inspire others, he chooses to talk about the time he slept with Ashanti 20 years ago. What does that tell you about where his priorities and mind are?" Another said, "They say women act purely on emotion, yet an emotional man will do 32 separate interviews talking about a woman who hasn't typed a single sentence about him in response. The obsession is real and honestly concerning at this point." The public sentiment seems to be overwhelmingly in support of Deb for having the courage to finally share her truth after all these years of silence. Many are applauding her for maintaining her dignity throughout the entire ordeal and putting her children first despite the incredibly difficult circumstances she was facing, and they're right to celebrate her strength. It takes tremendous courage to walk away from a marriage, especially when you've invested so many years and have children together. But sometimes that's exactly what you need to do to protect your peace and show your children what healthy boundaries look like. It's also worth noting how Ashanti herself has handled this entire situation with such grace and class. Despite Irv's constant public commentary about their past relationship, she has largely refrained from engaging, choosing instead to focus on her career and personal growth. She's demonstrating that sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all, letting your success and happiness speak for themselves while those who wronged you continue to dwell in the past. This whole saga really makes you think about the power dynamics at play in the music industry, doesn't it? About how men in positions of power often feel entitled to the women they work with, blurring professional and personal boundaries in ways that can have devastating consequences for everyone involved. It raises important questions about how we structure these working relationships and what protections need to be in place to prevent this kind of exploitation and of power. But what I'm dying to know right now is how you feel about all of this absolutely shocking drama. Do you think Deb should have spoken up sooner, or was she right to wait until she was truly ready to share her story? Do you believe Irv's version of events, or does Deb's account ring more true to you? Have you ever been in a situation where someone you loved was obsessed with someone else? How did you handle it? Sound off in the comments below and make absolutely sure you hit that like and subscribe button because, honey, you know this drama is far from over. I'll be following this story closely and bringing you all the updates as they happen. And don't forget to turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. This channel is your #1 source for all the hottest celebrity tea, relationship drama, and industry gossip that you need to know about. And I'll see all of you beautiful people in the next video. Bye, baddies. Bye, baddies. Bye.